Command and Conquer, Warcraft, Age of Empires, and Starcraft. What made these classic RTS games so good, and why haven't any other RTS games captured the gaming world since? Let's look at the rise of real-time strategy leading us towards this 30-year resurgence of the genre. In the early 90s, real-time strategy games were a niche genre that tried to combine the speed of the action games with the depth of the strategy games. This fusion created some of the most fun and competitive games that have spanned decades and spawned completely new genres in the gaming world. Dune 2 in 1992 is often considered the first stepping stone in what we think of when it comes to real-time strategy games. Westwood Studios grabbed onto the gameplay method of explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate to give us the first glimpse of what the RTS genre is known for, the combination of micro and macro. Dune laid the groundwork for future RTS games by having a fog of war or black screen that you need to explore. They also set up tech trees that you would have to progress through in order to create stronger units. 2 years later, a small studio named Blizzard took the framework that Westwood Studios set up and created Warcraft, Orcs, and Humans. This shifted gears from the sci-fi futuristic world of Dune to a fantasy setting of two warring races. In addition to the campaign, players also got access to the multiplayer skirmishes through LAN or online play. This is the first chance for players to test their skills against their friends after mastering the story mode, something that was very successful among its audience. 1995 was probably the most important year for the early RTS games, with Westwood Studios replying in kind with the release of Command and Conquer. Learning from their experience in the development of Dune, Westwood created a lighthearted take on an alternate reality version of war-torn Earth, involving the Global Defense Initiative, the GDI, and the Brotherhood of Nod. Not only did the gameplay improve through click and drag of multiple unit selection, but also the over-the-top live-action cutscenes that became a trademark of the Command & Conquer series. The gameplay, music, and sound effects, as well as story connected with so many fans and really set the gold standard of what an RTS game could be. With such a huge success, selling over 3 million copies and kickstarting one of the largest RTS franchises to date. Blizzard, however, was not going to give the title of King of the RTS world without a fight, and in December 1995, Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness was released. In 1 year, Blizzard was able to overhaul the graphics and improve on the gameplay from the original game. This is also our first look at an updated Fog of War to a 2-tier fog system. As you spawn into the world, it is of course covered in that black fog. As you explore, this first tier of fog is replaced by a secondary gray tier that would be outside the line of sight of your units and building. This was probably the biggest update to the strategy aspect within the RTS genre, preventing players from having complete information on their opponents. In turn, making enemy units feel more like sneak attacks than pushes that you see coming from across the map. 2 years later, the battle in the RTS world would see new Challenger appear. During this time, many studios tried to get into the game, but few could keep up with the grip that Blizzard and Westwood had on the scene. That is, of course, until 1997, when the third big RTS studio would enter the fight with the release of Age of Empires. Unlike the other two studios, Ensemble Studios took their inspiration from history. They also innovated on the number of resources available on the map and how they impacted the gameplay, as you needed different resources to tech up from the Stone Age to the Iron Age. As Age of Empires would go on to sell 2 million copies worldwide, solidifying themselves among the greats. Blizzard, taking time off to release Diablo, came back with a vengeance in 1998 with their take on a sci-fi world featuring 3 unique races, the Protoss, Terran, and Zerg, with the release of Starcraft. This game hit at the perfect time within Korean history to expand their connection with technology and upgrades across the country through PC bongs. Starcraft and its expansion Brood War, released in December of the same year, captured the hearts and mind of the entire country. So much so that there was dedicated TV channels to broadcast tournament play and sold out stadium-sized arenas for the finals. The game still has a thriving esports scene in Korea with the Africa Star League. Today, Starcraft has sold over 11 million copies, solidifying itself as the #1 selling RTS game of all time. Westwood Studios would continue to fight on after successfully releasing Command & Conquer Red Alert in 1996. However, the early 2000s saw a drastic change with the release of Red Alert 2 in 2000, with about 300,000 copies sold, and Battle for Dune in 2001, both of which were released after the studio was acquired by EA. As sales began to plummet, EA closed Westwood Studios in 2003. However, EA continues to produce Command & Conquer games like Red Alert 3 in 2008, which of course is often remembered with everyone's favorite Tim Curry meme.
Commander, you've rained on my glorious parade. For this, I'm sending everything I've got at you. But I won't let you have the satisfaction of catching me. I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
The game only sold about 100,000 copies, a far cry from the millions of copies the Command & Conquer series sold during the 90s. Age of Empires, on the other hand, continued to succeed, not only releasing Age of Empires 2 in 1998 that featured a battle of the Middle Ages starting out in the Dark Ages and taking up to the Imperial Age. This also helped to spawn additional expansions, adding more civilizations like Age of Empires 2 The Conquerors, but also complete spin-off series like Age of Mythology. Age of Empires had a slight dip in the mid-2000s with Age of Empires 3, however the game still sold over 2 million copies. The series itself is still going strong today with the release of Age of Empires 4 in 2021, bringing about the first real shakeup to the RTS world in almost 6 years since Starcraft 2 Legacy of the Void was released. The golden age of RTS really ended in the early 2000s. Was this due to the console wars waging between PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, with gamers picking up Grand Theft Auto, Super Smash Bros., and Halo? Or did Warcraft 3 completely throw the RTS genre on its head with the introduction of hero units, creeping, and the many custom games that players created, which in turn snowballed into the creation of the MOBA world in the late 2000s, early 2010s? This also corresponds with the rise of the grand strategy games like Civilization and Anno, essentially splitting the RTS player base between the micro aspects within MOBAs and the macro aspects of grand strategy games. 2024 has so many promising RTS games on the horizon. No matter what aspect of the genre that you enjoy, there's a game out there for you. Games like Tempest Rising, which is the closest thing to reviving a Command & Conquer style game. Homeworld 3 for an epic 3D space adventure that takes that top-down approach of the high ground versus low ground battles and throws them all out the window in the vastness of space. Or are you interested in the competitive esports side of games like Immortal Gates of Pyre, Zerospace, and Stormgate, all of which I've covered in greater details on the channel. Hopefully this video has given you a lot to think about within the world of RTS. Leave a comment, let me know what you think killed the Golden Age. What sort of games were you playing during the Golden Age? We'll be doing a deeper dive into the gaming world as well as commentary of the RTS games, showing off gameplay of all these new RTS games that I've mentioned on the channel. So if you like this content, make sure to subscribe, share the video, leave a comment, all that kind of fun stuff. But check out the links for other videos here on the screen. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in and watching, and I'll see you all next game.